Even if your spouse passes away first, there are 6 things that every senior citizen absolutely needs to do in order to survive. If you find out that your spouse has passed away before you, what is the very first thing you should do? Most people do not have a definitive response, and when the time comes, they discover that they are unable to cope with the feelings of loss and bewilderment, as well as the decisions that they never anticipated having to make on their own. The fact of the matter is that the passing of a spouse alters everything. Regardless of how good your relationship was or how long you were together, when you are so exhausted that you can hardly get out of bed, it gives you a list of things to do. It breaks the ground beneath you, and it leaves you with an aching, quiet feeling. It is not the purpose of this film to discuss legal papers or what to say during a funeral mass. Finding out what you should do first, both emotionally and practically, in order to endure the initial waves of loss is the focus of this article. During this time, which is one of the most challenging periods of your life, we will guide you through 6 key actions that will assist you in maintaining your composure. The instructions that you are about to get are not cold. They have their origins in personal experience, compassion, and a profound comprehension that the experience of loss does not come with a guidebook. Every single one of these 6 things is something that actual people, just like you, have discovered to be essential in their own personal healing process. However, despite the fact that none of them alleviate the agony, they might provide you with a sense of stability in situations where everything else appears to be unclear. Not only do you need to know what to do in order to function, but you'll also need to know what to do in order to finally live again if your spouse passes away first. I pray that day is a very long way off. Until the very end, I want you to stay with me because the 6th point is one that the majority of people never think about, but it frequently dictates how the remainder of their life develops after they have experienced a loss. Let's get started. First, it is essential to feel before you mend. Not only does the world go silent after the death of your spouse, but it also becomes numb. The routines that you both followed, the talks that you relied on, and even the sound of their footsteps in the next room are all abruptly gone. The silence that has been left behind is not limited to the exterior. The feeling of it being heavy and hollow settles into your chest. And in those early days, there is a strong urge to push through, to take care of the paperwork, the calls, the arrangements, the logistics, and everything else that will keep you busy, enough to prevent you from feeling the full weight of it. Nevertheless, before you do anything further, let me tell you the truth. You must allow yourself to feel that way. This is not the same thing as disintegrating. Give yourself permission to grieve without feeling guilty, without setting a schedule, and without passing judgment on your feelings. There is no appropriate method to express sorrow when the tears stop falling, or when the bed begins to seem less empty. There is no hard and fast plan to follow. It is of the utmost importance that you do not suppress your emotions to such an extent that they become rigid during those initial days. As a result of the fact that grief that is avoided does not vanish, it waits, and when it does come back at a later time, it does so with an increased level of bewilderment and anguish, especially after a loss. There are those who believe that exhibiting emotion is a sign of weakness. For example, they tell me that I need to be strong for the sake of the children, or that Dad would not want me to cry. Strength, however, does not equate to silence. It is not the same as denying your feelings of grief in order to make other people feel more at ease. Allowing yourself to acknowledge the full weight of your love and the hole that it has left behind is a fundamental component of strength. Consider the sad situation of Evelyn, an 81-year-old woman who, after 52 years of marriage, has suffered the loss of her husband. She kept herself busy by running errands and cleaning out closets throughout the first week, giving the impression to everyone that she was doing okay. On the other hand, she found herself staring at his chair towards the late hours of the night. This was not because she had missed the discussions. Rather, she was pretending that she had not missed them. When she finally gave in to her emotions and allowed herself to cry, it was as if a change had taken place. No, it was not because the pain went away. Rather, it was because it was finally able to breathe. Due to the fact that you are heartbroken, you are not broken. The fact that you are unable to make it through the day without breaking down is not evidence of your weakness. One cannot find a solution to grief. Rather, it is something that one must carry. It is also possible that you will end up carrying it in unhealthy ways, such as through rage, numbness, or even disease, if you do not give yourself the room to acknowledge it in its whole. If your spouse passes away before you, the first thing you need to do is take a moment to halt. Acknowledge the loss even if it causes you pain. Don't be afraid to cry. Discuss them with yourself if you want to. Allow yourself to acknowledge that nothing makes sense at this point. It is not necessary for you to have a plan. Putting on a brave face is not something you should do. Simply put, you have to feel, simply because doing so will start the healing process. Also, honesty is always the first step toward mending. Second, the significance of making contact as soon as possible. It is possible that the feeling of isolation will come upon you more quickly than you anticipate in the hours and days that follow the passing of your spouse by surprise. Everyone is calling, delivering meals, and giving flowers at one moment. And then, all of a sudden, there is a complete silence in the house. When the door stops knocking and the phone slows down, the silence that follows can quickly morph into a sense of separation if you are not careful. Therefore, one of the most essential things you can do in the beginning is to make an effort to communicate with other people before the feeling of isolation becomes too profound. There is no need for you to say anything truly significant. Although you are not need to explain how you are feeling, you are required to let people know that you are present and that you require their assistance. To put it another way, this does not mean that you should strive to entertain guests while you are barely functioning, or that you should pour your heart out to everyone. To put it another way, it is not waiting for other people to initiate the action, due to the fact that even those that love you might not know what to say or how to assist you. The majority of them might be at a loss for words. It is possible that they are hesitant, not because they do not care, but rather because they are afraid of becoming intrusive. By taking that one simple action, such as sending a message, picking up the phone, or even just replying when someone checks in, you are constructing a protective barrier against the kind of loneliness that not only makes you feel horrible, but also begins to have an effect on your mind and body. After a person has had a loss, one of the most detrimental things that may occur is for them to become socially isolated. Memories, blood pressure, immunological function, and even sleep are all affected by it. And it does it in a stealthy manner. We are going to discuss about Jim, who is 77 years old and whose wife passed away after a protracted illness. Initially, on a daily basis, he received calls from pals, but he frequently let them go to voicemail. He had no desire to engage in conversation. Eventually, the phone call stopped coming in because he did not feel like telling the story again or pretending that everything was well. Not until several weeks later, when a neighbor knocked on his door, did Jim become aware of the situation. It had been going on without him even being aware of it. Following that, he made a modest commitment to himself, which was to phone himself only once a day and have a genuine chat. That seemingly insignificant action eventually grew into something much more significant. It brought him a glimmer of hope. Connecting with others serves as a reminder that you are not alone. Despite the fact that grief may try to convince you otherwise, it is not necessary for you to discuss the loss if you are not prepared to do so. Memories, the weather, or a humorous story from a long time ago are all topics that can be discussed. The presence of another person, with the knowledge that they are on the opposite side of the table or the opposite end of the line, is what is important. Also, keep this in mind. If you do not have any family members in the area, or if you are concerned about becoming a burden, there are grieving support groups, elder centers, and local volunteers available in many towns who are willing to sit with you, talk with you, or simply be a quiet companion whenever you need them. The act of reaching out does not imply that one is defeated. It involves making the decision to not bear your suffering by yourself. Not only are the first few days after a loss emotionally damaging, but they are also physically hazardous. In addition to your heart being vulnerable, your thinking is cloudy, and your body is experiencing stress. The act of surrounding yourself with people, even in the most insignificant of ways, serves as a kind of emotional scaffolding, holding you up while you rediscover your equilibrium once more. However, if you are still watching this video and you find these insights to be helpful, I would appreciate it if you could leave a remark below. Number 2, to let me know that you are here. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the Seniors Life Reset channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans. Third, organizing important documents is the most pressing priority. Now, organizing important documents is the third priority, and it is the most pressing. It seems as though the entire world should come to a halt after someone passes away, particularly a spouse. But the reality is that the world is always changing. Bills arrive, notices are mailed, accounts freeze, and all of a sudden, in the midst of your grief, you are confronted with questions that you might not be prepared to answer. Because of this, one of the most essential things that you need to do is discover and examine all of the essential documents that are associated with your spouse's life. You should do this in a manner that is as gentle and straightforward as possible. It is not icy and callous in any way. It is really important. You will need to locate the will, insurance policies, information on bank accounts, a marriage certificate, a death certificate, and any other documents that pertain to property, pensions, or military service. In addition to this, you will have to carry it out while your intellect is exhausted and your heart is raw. This is the point at which a lot of individuals either delay because they are overwhelmed or rush without understanding, and both of these scenarios can result in errors that make the weeks that are to come more agonizing than they should be. Although there are those who believe they will get to it once they are ready, it is unfortunate that timing is not always something that can be controlled by you. When it comes to legal and financial procedures, there are frequently stringent time constraints. It may be necessary to make a claim on life insurance. Perhaps it is necessary to get in touch with Social Security. Transferring utility accounts might be necessary at some point. If you wait for an excessive amount of time or fail to notice something important, it may have a significant impact on your finances that is difficult to undo. Consider a person like Harold, who is 79 years old and who suffered the sudden loss of his wife. Throughout the years, she was responsible for the majority of the paperwork. Consequently, Harold was unaware of the location of the insurance policy when she passed away. After several weeks had gone, he finally discovered it stowed away in a drawer in her sewing room. By then, he'd already covered several expenses from his own savings. Not knowing the policy would have helped. It was not a problem of lack of attention. Simply put, the time was the deciding factor. And at a time when you are grieving, it might be difficult to find clarity. You should invite someone you can rely on to sit with you while you handle these documents if you are feeling too overwhelmed to handle them on your own. A member of the family, a close friend, or even a professional advisor will do. Someone who is able to move slowly through it and is able to assist in keeping track of what has been discovered and what still needs attention. The fog can be alleviated by doing something as easy as drafting a checklist. Maintain everything in a single location. Get yourself a box or a folder. Make copies of what's most important. Write down account numbers, passwords, contact names, anything that someone else would need to know if they had to step in for you. Because grief isn't just emotional, it's administrative. And that portion catches a lot of folks off guard. This phase may feel like business, but in truth, it's part of honoring your spouse's life. It's ensuring nothing is lost, ignored, or left in turmoil. It's maintaining the legacy they fought so hard to develop, and making sure you're not left carrying the weight alone. You don't have to finish everything in one day, but you do have to begin. And once you start, you'll often find that the act of organizing, even in sorrow, may bring a small sense of order back into a world that suddenly appears unrecognizable. Fourth, the practice of taking precautions to safeguard your health. It's not just your heart that's affected by grief. Any part of your body is impacted by it. And in the days and weeks that follow the death of your spouse, you could discover that it is more difficult than ever before to take care of yourself. There is a lack of meals. The quality of sleep is disrupted. There is no longer any motivation. Even seemingly insignificant actions, like brushing your teeth or going outside, can feel like a waste of time. On the other hand, this is precisely the moment when it is most important to take care of your health, because the death of a spouse disrupts more than simply the normal rhythms of life. Additionally, it puts your physical health in jeopardy in ways that you would not anticipate. The abrupt loss of weight, weariness, digestive issues, chest tightness, and forgetfulness are common symptoms experienced by many elderly people who have lost a spouse. The reason for this is not that they are sick, but rather that their bodies are reacting to intense mental distress. As a result of extended exposure to this state of stress, the immune system can become compromised. Blood pressure can rise, hormone levels can be disrupted, and pre-existing problems can become even more severe. Not only is the anguish genuine, but so is the physical toll that it takes on your body. It is not necessary to have a flawless routine. You do not have to run a marathon or completely change your diet in order to achieve your goals. However, it is necessary for you to provide your body with fundamental care, even if it initially feels empty. Consuming something nutritional at regular intervals, even if it's just a small amount, is what this entails. It implies exercising your body, even if it's just some light stretching, in your living room or a leisurely stroll around the block. Going to bed at a fair time, even if you don't immediately fall asleep, is what it means to achieve this. This is not merely a list of health advice, acts of survival, or what they are. Consider Margaret, who is 84 years old and recently lost her husband of 60 years. During those first few weeks, she was so overwhelmed that she failed to take her blood pressure medication and skipped several meals in a row. She also forgot to take her medication. The realization that something was going on did not come to her daughter until she passed out while she was out doing her grocery shopping. This was not a life-threatening situation. The emotion that was making its way into her physical system was grief, which had not been treated or monitored. After Margaret started establishing a written regimen which included meals, drinks, medicines, and daily check-ins. She gradually regained her strength, and she also began to maintain her clarity. This situation is a good example of a proverb that is used in grief counseling. Care for the animal that resides within you when you are at a loss for what to do. It needs to be fed, watered, allowed to rest, and allowed to wander around because, at the most fundamental level, your body is attempting to regain homeostasis once more, and it requires your assistance in order to achieve this goal. It's possible that you don't feel hungry. Consume food, whatever. It's possible that you won't feel fatigued. It is best to lie down. Perhaps you do not feel like getting dressed. Do it anyway, not because you're faking strength, but because you're rebuilding it, one calm decision at a time. And don't hesitate to reach out to your doctor during this time. Even if you think it's just the stress, having a conversation with a trained professional and having your vital signs examined might sometimes be enough to make you feel more grounded. You are reminded that you are still present and that you are still in need of care. Taking care of yourself doesn't imply moving on. Not forgetting is not the same thing. It is a way of paying respect to the person you have lost without sacrificing who you are in the process. I would appreciate it if you could use the fourth comment section below to let me know that you are continuing viewing this video and that you are finding these insights to be helpful. I strongly suggest that you subscribe to the Seniors Life Reset channel and activate the bell if you have not already done so. This will ensure that you do not miss any videos. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. Let's proceed with our plans. Lastly, some thoughts. Losing your spouse is one of life's worst pains. It doesn't just take away the person you love. It takes away the pattern of your days, the sound of your home, the comfort of being noticed without needing to explain yourself. Nothing prepares you for such quiet. Nothing fills it totally. But as unpleasant as it is, there are things you can do. Small, human, caring things that help you survive the storm and gently, carefully begin again. These 6 steps we've talked about are not rules. The anchors are these. When you feel that the sadness is too much to bear, they help you remain grounded. Putting your feelings first, getting in touch with people early, collecting papers, taking care of your health, avoiding making hasty decisions, and reestablishing your identity are all important steps, although none of them are simple. Each and every one of them is significant. It is not necessary for you to be flawless at this. You do not have to do it in a hurry. The only thing you can do is keep going. Additionally, if you only take one thing away from this video, let it be this statement. You are not the only one. Other people have traveled along this path. It is now being walked by other people, and each and every one of them, just like you, is attempting to figure out how to live with a heart that has been shattered. Experiencing grief does not imply that your narrative is finished. This signifies the beginning of a new chapter, a piece of writing that you did not request, one that you never desired, but which is still yours to compose. Additionally, in that chapter, you will have the opportunity to choose what it means to be healed, what love is like, and what life may still become even after the most difficult goodbye. We appreciate you being here with us today. It would be wonderful if you could get in touch with us. Please leave a comment below and tell us about one item you discovered today and how you intend to put it to use in your life right now. We place a high value on your opinions, so please do not be reluctant to share them with us. Our inspiration and encouragement are greatly increased as a result of reading your remarks. I would appreciate it if you would subscribe and share this video if you found it to be informative and enjoyable. With your assistance, we are able to continue producing high-quality content that will both inform and inspire you. We appreciate you taking the time to watch, and we hope to see you in the future.